Good morning. It's the final day of April. It's day 28. It's 5:16, 36.2 degrees. And I'm waking up. Whew. Dropped a trekking pole. Alright, guys. Alright, gals, guys, whoever you are, good morning. It's 6:41 in the morning. 32.6, I think. 32.6 degrees. I must have lied to you this morning. Said I woke up at 5:16. What actually had happened was that I had set an alarm on my watch to go off at 5:15. And so when I woke up this morning and gave my little morning check-in, I didn't even check the time, I just checked the temperature. But I think what had happened was that my alarm was going off for quite some time, and I only eventually heard it. That orange hood that I wear, that goose feet gear down balaclava, is really muffles a lot of sound. So I think I hadn't heard my alarm for quite some time, because a short time after doing that morning check-in, I checked the time again. It was like 5:40, so that makes more sense with this time that I'm breaking out of camp right now at 6:40, 6:41, whatever. Yeah, anyways. So probably 6:42 by now. 32 degrees or so. So the temperature has dropped just about 4, 5, 6 degrees since I woke up. Something like that. But otherwise pretty mild, honestly. I mean, anything around freezing is what I would consider warm at this point for a wake-up temperature. So that's nice. I mean, it just, fingers work better, and able to put stuff away more easily, and able to get myself out of my sleeping bag a lot more easily when it's around freezing compared to 22 or whatever. I did leave Midnight back in her tent. She is up and moving around, but she'll be on her way. Yesterday was the first time I can remember ever that she broke camp before I did. So we're back to our usual routines here, with me breaking out first. But as I said, I think in last night's video, we do have about 6 miles to the first water source. After that, it'll be about 12 miles to the second water source, which will put us at 18 miles for the day, which isn't really enough miles for the day. So the plan is at that 18-mile water source to load up a bunch of water, whatever we'll need for the rest of the night, and then tomorrow morning, and then the next water after that 18-mile water source is 15 after that. So we'll probably just about split that 15, do about half of it tonight and half of it tomorrow morning. And really that's almost exactly what we did, yesterday, with respect to mileage and water availability. I was warned, advised perhaps, by Farrell, Triple Crowner friend of mine who did the CDT last year, that out on this trail, and it's absolutely the case, water just drives the train, man. The whole day revolves around water availability. I mean, it's not necessarily in a scary way, because you can plan for it, and you can mitigate, and you can hedge, and you can carry, stuff like that. So it's not necessarily scary, but it's definitely what's going to drive the train. It's just your whole day revolves around water availability, water sources, reading comments on whether they're active or dried up water sources. And it's kind of a Midnight and I were lamenting last night that's kind of part of the bummer of being in such an early wave of hikers, is that there are so few comments on so many of these water sources from this year. There's literally 3 or 4 hikers who are leaving halfway contemporaneous notes on the water sources from this year, who are ahead of us. And really the vast majority of comments are from last year and the Sobos, but there's a very, very big difference between water being available in November and water being available in April. So all those Sobo comments, I mean, no disrespect to the Sobos whatsoever, but in as far as the utility of those comments for me and Midnight and those of us who are kind of earlier on this trail, they bear very little, if any, significance or relevance whatsoever. So sometimes actually I'll check the April comments from last year to see, and I feel like checking the April comments from 2021 will give me a better read on water than checking the November comments from 2021, strangely enough. So anyways, slept good last night. Thanks again, 1,000 subscribers. That's pretty awesome. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe. All that. Okay, I see a blaze coming up. I guess I'll take care of my morning blaze tap here and then snap off and get hiking. Yeah, not really much to report aside from that. Slept good, feel good, body feels good. Boring road walks. The wind has subsided significantly overnight, so that's very nice. And with that, we'll be on our way. Check in with you guys later. Alright guys, it is 11:23 and 71.4 degrees. I'm just about 13 miles, a little over 13 miles into the day, which is to say just likely just about a little touch over halfway through the day. And as mentioned, it is day 28, and as you may know, every 7 days I do a little health and equipment check-in, just kind of update you on how the body and gear is going. Well, today is the fourth installment of such an update. So yeah, so generally everything's doing pretty well. Generally everything's doing pretty well, which is always nice to report. A few things I'll mention. I'm not sure if I had mentioned this on a previous update, but I noticed like a little red spot, sort of like a not a spot, like a little red patch, sort of like a little patch of discoloration on like the very most, kind of like the most sensitive side of the bottom of my foot. It's something I had noticed first on the left foot and then on the right foot, sort of an irregular shape, perhaps about the size of a quarter. It was tender, not really painful necessarily, but working towards painful and tender. Often enough it would kind of feel like there was some sand or a little rock or something in my shoe. So I've been dealing with that for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, I don't really know. Again, not really show stopping or anything, but just anything out here is something I'll pay attention to. So I had thought about it and asked other people. I asked Midnight about it, I asked Scout and 700 about it. Everyone seemed pretty confused, and it finally occurred to me yesterday what was going on, and I remember this issue from last year on the Appalachian Trail. So what was happening was basically, for whatever silly reason, I mean, as you walk along a trail like this or whatever, you make just billions and billions of decisions about foot placement. You know, this is a pretty pretty accommodating terrain right here in front of us, but frequently there'll be, you know, rocks or roots or whatever else, and you kind of decide where to place your foot. And for whatever reason, somewhere along the way, I must have learned that it's appropriate and okay to take any sort of quarter or $half size stone, like any of these guys. Here's a good example. And instead of stepping next to it, put it kind of right on the middle of my foot. And yeah, that's a silly way to walk. That's a really silly way to walk. So for whatever reason, that's just kind of my natural way to walk. And it's that impulse which results in that red spot. So again, I've dealt with it on both feet, and generally I'm dealing with it most recently on my right foot. So what I've done is just taken a little like 2-inch by 2-inch square of gauze, folded it twice, and then taped it onto the bottom of my foot over that patch with some Leuco tape. I have dealt with, as I said, I've dealt with this issue before, and it resolves pretty quickly. Which is kind of strange. It's a way I walk naturally, and it's a very silly way to walk. So it's something that I just have to take deliberate thoughts, deliberate steps to make sure that I'm not doing that anymore. I mean, it's easily fixed. Well, I say it's easily fixed, but it's kind of, I just got to work on retraining myself to not step that way onto stones. Well, it's very silly. It's honestly almost kind of embarrassing that that's my natural impulse, because it's a very silly thing to do, but well, that's what it is. So anyways, little red spots on the bottom of the feet, those kind of come and go depending how effective I am at being more deliberate about my foot placement. So there's one health issue. Again, luckily not a huge deal. Another health issue, Wallen Grants, man. So these toenails and blisters of mine that I've been talking about, I don't know what, since the second day on trail or something. Well, some of the toenails have finally given up and taken their leave of my foot. So again, when I speak of toes, I speak of the large toe being the first toe, the pinky toe being the fifth toe. Well, on the left foot, I have Wallen Grants. During my first shower in Grants, I lost my second toenail. Just gone. Just fell right off. No problem. Good riddance, I say, frankly. And then during my second shower in Grants, my left foot, fifth toenail, decided it didn't want to live without my second toenail, and it too decided to rid itself of me. So again, as I say, good riddance. Totally not painful. I know it sounds horrific to lose toenails. And when I first got into long distance hiking, I was similarly horrified, probably as horrified as you are if you've never heard of such a phenomenon, but I assure you, totally unpainless, totally unpainful, and as I say, good riddance. I mean, just happy to be done with them. Aside from that, it does look like the second toe on my right foot, that toenail is contemplating evacuating as well, and I expect that to be going, I don't know, anytime in the next week. Who really knows? So yeah, so there's an update on some of those feet. Aside from those toenails going, feet are doing all right. Not much in the way of blisters. You know, nothing crazy or significant or really much of anything to report about the feet aside from that. So the final sort of health update before we get into gear real quick is, man, this past week or so, we have been in and by the large out of cow country. It was dawning on me maybe 2 weeks ago or so that perhaps the reason why I was sneezing and sniffling and just nasal drainage like I've frankly never experienced before in my life, that perhaps the catalyst for such afflictions was just the preponderance of, well, cow manure basically everywhere, and the high winds which kind of kick up all that dust. So I don't usually live around cows, and I don't frequently have much exposure to cow manure and cow manure dust and things like this, but well, that suspicion which had been slowly but surely swelling up within me
has been all but confirmed since over the course of the past week. As I say, we have more or less left the majority of cow behind us on trail, and those afflictions have certainly mellowed quite significantly. So that's great. There's a lot of big fancy words just to explain. I'm not sneezing and sniffling as much, nowhere near as much. And I believe that I had been sneezing and sniffling because of cows. Anyway, so that's the third final kind of health update. Aside from that, everything's feeling great. I did spend the night at 11,000 feet a couple nights ago on Sudsill, aka Mount Taylor, 11,307 feet, I think, and experienced no symptoms that I could identify associated with that altitude or anything. Not overnight, not in the morning. Certainly, I was winded on the climb, but that's just what it is. So, anyways, moving on from that. As I have mentioned in the past couple videos, there have been some gear shuffles of decent significance. I did send home my 20-degree sleeping bag, not because I don't like it. I like it very much, but we are, as I just mentioned, moving into more consistent elevation, and where there's elevation, there's low temperatures. So I did swap out for my 0-degree Phantom. What is it? Mountain Hardwear Phantom Zero sleeping bag, which is amazing. I love it. Slept in it 2 nights now. Missed the heck out of that sleeping bag. It's heavy. You can go to my lighter pack page if you want to see that. All those links are in the description below. You can see the weight difference. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. And I also got out that awesome head sleeping bag, the Goose Feet Gear down parka, which is fantastic. So I don't think I'll be hiking in it too much. It's just a little bit unwieldy. I mean, unless it gets really cold, in which case I have no pride. I'll just stay happy with that thing on my head. But it's wonderful for sleeping in. Cinch it all the way down and cover my eyes, almost like an eye mask, and then just leave my nose and mouth uncovered so that I can breathe without causing too much condensation on my sleeping bag or anything else. So those are 2 great pieces of gear that I am super happy to have out. On a final, less happy note, although again, still certainly not dire. I mentioned that my sister had mailed off a replacement set of shoes at my request, which I recovered in Grants on this last stop. Wow, look at all this. I wonder what happened here. A new pair of shoes. Well, I'd asked for those shoes because Grants is right at around mile 500. And usually I had noticed that these shoes last about 500 miles on the AT last year. So, but by the time I got to Grants, by the time I was leaving Grants, the shoes, which I'm currently wearing, that I'd started with, were still looking good. I mean, definitely a couple little scrapes and scruffs, but nothing too crazy. And I didn't want to replace them if I didn't need to replace them. Well, so I took the shoes my sister had sent me, forwarded them on to Ghost Ranch, which is the stop after this next stop here in Cuba. And literally my first day out of Grants, some pieces of tread, some of like the lugs on the shoes that I decided to keep and continue with, started kind of peeling or flopping off, kind of like the bonding has started failing. Well, whatever, it is what it is. Again, last year on the AT, I dealt with these shoes, beyond kind of their reasonable life, and I hiked probably several hundred miles with different pairs of shoes in different states of decomposition, and so I'm not particularly concerned about whether they'll be functional to get me to Ghost Ranch, but it's just kind of one of those funny things. No matter what decision you make on trail, whether it's to swap out gear early or to hold on to gear you got or whatever it is, just be ready, because chances are it's probably going to be the wrong decision, but you just kind of got to weigh the cost benefit and kind of got to make peace with, make sure you're okay with being wrong if indeed you are wrong. So yeah, so that's it for gear. That's it for body. I believe that is the end of this week's health update. Definitely appreciate you all checking in. I'm gonna get back to hiking, or continue hiking, or whatever. And I will be sure to check in with you guys a little later. Talk to you then. Hey, all right guys, it is 2:27, 74.9 degrees. I'm about 20 miles into the day here at the foot of Cerro del Ojo Frio, which I'm not sure what cerro means. Does it mean zero? I don't know. But something about cold eye. Cerro del Ojo Frio. Anyways, something of the cold eye, or something of a cold eye, or something. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, the reason why I'm here is because this is the spring water source, and yeah, so this is the spot where Midnight and I had spoken about meeting up, having a wet dinner, loading out water, because there is no more water for whatever it is, 15 miles or something after this. Dude, it has been an amazing day. Coming off, we were up on a mesa all morning. Through the early afternoon, and then dropping off that mesa, got some amazing sort of geological features to just really kind of just add a lot of excitement to the day, which is really cool. And that was like, I mean, there were some amazing views down in Gila, down in the Gila River. I don't mean to take anything in the world away from the Gila River, but and as far as big sweeping views, tough to beat what I've seen so far today. Really amazing. Yeah, no complaints at all. Did run into a northbound hiker who was hiking in the direction of southbound. He's his name was Kevin, or Dog Dad. I understand he's seen a few videos of mine, so hello Kevin if you happen to see this one. Ran into him. That confusing hike I just described, basically he parks one car on one side, parks a car on the north, and then hikes back to his other car in the south, and then flip-flops, takes that car, skips over the car on the north end, parks it further north, and then walks back to that first car. So a little bit confusing, but I've heard of that kind of hike before, and honestly, it makes a ton of sense. I wish that was an option available to me, but it's not. So I'll have to hike it the old-fashioned way. Worse things have happened, you know. Anyways, I'm gonna hang tight, wait for midnight. There were a couple of cheeky beers left over by the spring. Definitely picked up one for me, definitely picked up one for midnight. What a tremendous treat. Thank you to whoever left those. A few nice desert temperature Tecates in the spring, so I'll take them, man. I'll take them, no doubt about that. Yeah, and then I'm gonna sit here as I wait for midnight and look ahead to the next campsite for the night. So anyways, I will check in with you guys a little later.
Compliments of some spring water.
Yeah.
Trail Angel. Cheers. Nothing like lukewarm. Goddamn.
Oh
hot
man.
Day.
How else are you supposed to drink it? All right, guys, 6:29, 75.8 degrees. Just made it to home for the night. Haven't quite decided exactly where here I'm gonna pitch up, but Midnight just found her way over as well. And I think we're gonna go ahead and start thinking about bunking up. What I like about this spot is that there's a gentle breakaway down to the west behind me now. And I'm hoping there might be a pretty cool sunset tonight. I'm gonna try and set up a time lapse for you again tonight. Let's see, what else? Oh, tonight's gonna be a cowboy camp night, I think, as well. Last night was kind of warm, and I don't really think I need to set up the tent now that I have the 0 degree bag. I think it's gonna be just fine. I'll just kind of cowboy camp someplace, enjoy some stars as there is a new moon. I think the day after tomorrow, so it should be a pretty nice dark sky, although there is a little bit of atmosphere up there right now. We'll see how much of that persists, but yeah, man. I mean, again, the Gila was amazing. The Gila River, that whole section was amazing, but today might have been my favorite day on trail so far. Just absolutely stunning. Stunning, stunning, stunning. So beautiful from pretty much from start to finish. I mean, we had whatever that 6-mile road walk to get to that first water source, but pretty much as soon as that first water source, as soon as we passed it, it kicked straight into trail, and it was lovely, really, really lovely. And then ever since that descent, we've just been in Canyonland, noodling our way through Canyonland, and I mean, it's been a dream. It's been everything you want. So, anyways, I think I'm gonna go ahead, get pitched up, as it were. You know, just roll out a mat and shake out the sleeping bag and stuff like that, and get ready to bunk up, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.